So I had a really interesting comment, question, dare on one of my videos about how you can memorize an entire book. And in this video, if you want to come for a walk with me to the library where there's lots and lots of books to memorize, I'm going to tell you you can absolutely memorize any book that you want from cover to cover and recite it backwards and forwards, give you a demonstration of proof that it's the most common one that I know that gives you a pretty good test that it is possible, and why you'd want to avoid it like the devil and never do anything as ridiculous as that when there are more realistic ways to memorize things from entire books. That's coming right up. So the nature of this comment was, I'm sure, well-intentioned. It came off a little bit gruff, but it's just like, impossible, dare you to do it, you know, that kind of thing. And I was just thinking, wow, this guy's really certain of himself. And I'm not going to memorize an entire book to prove that it can be done. I don't really think that it's necessary. Now, I have to say that you want to check out a really great video that Ed Cook, who wrote Remember, Remember, and he's the main honcho, at least as far as I understand, he's the main honcho behind Memrise, which is an interesting software. And he's a memory champion, grandmaster, and you know, it's just an interesting video he has with a guy named Dr. Yip, who memorized a dictionary, really big one, and basically in the video, Ed Cook tests Dr. Yip, and I don't think it's staged. I don't think it's staged at all. And you know, if you just look at the records of the world memory champions and all the other memory competitors, this is a very, very scientifically validated skill that one can develop. And I have done some verbatim memorization of long poems, and never have I done an entire book because I think it's just a waste of time. I mean, why? What purpose would this serve? Jonathan Levy and I, we often answer this question in exactly the same way. If you don't know my friend Jonathan from Super Learner, I got a special code for you that you can use to get a free trial of the Super Learner Academy. Go to magneticmemorymethod.com/SL. That'll get you a nice, beautiful trial that you're gonna love. And it's a great course. It's a great course. And we share in common this philosophy that there are a lot of things in the world of memory that you can do. There's no reason to believe that you can't do them. Everything speaks in its favor. It's just very, very, it's an academic discussion about whether you can or you can't do it. It's just, are you going to show up to doing it? Are you going to sit down and do what it takes to memorize a book from beginning to end? And you know that the people who do this are strongly motivated for that kind of memory stunt, is what it boils down to. And it really is a stunt, in the same way that memorizing a deck of cards is a demonstration of what you can do with your memory very, very quickly. I'm going to memorize some cards actually in a little while here, but it's still just kind of at the level of a stunt unless you're using it for exercise, which I use it for mental memory development exercise, exploring the craft, the art, having something that can be done every day to really continue to maintain and sharpen the muscle and actually explore, because I've been memorizing cards for years and I still learn something new every single time I sit down to it. It's unbelievable. I was wasn't memorizing with him, but I was interviewing Florian Delay. He said one thing in that interview that just unlocked a new idea, and I refined my approach. So you get better and better at whatever it is that you do, and you'll discover so many things, I'm confident, if you memorize entire books. And when I tried to do this, I discovered something very, very quickly. And it is that you don't need to memorize the entire book to know all of the core and most important content. What you actually need is to zero in on the most important core content and memorize that instead. And what you'll find is that your mind actually, if you do the recommendations that I suggest, and ideally informed by other aspects of memory study from other people who have devoted their lives to the art of memory and the craft of memory and the mechanics of memory, you'll find that you learn so much by your brain just filling in the gaps between the parts. It's like the information you didn't focus on is magnetically drawn into place anyway. Now, not verbatim, but still there. And you're able to do what's more important, which is to actually discuss and form actual knowledge, create knowledge, be a person of knowledge, rather than this humdrum, oh well, chapter 1, blah 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 blah. This is useless. There's very little that you can do with that if you are going to a university exam or you're giving a lecture or anything like that. So it can be done. You know, one book that you might want to read is The Memory Palace of Matteo Ricci by Jonathan D. Spence. Really great book. And it goes into all of these skills. There's no reason to doubt that these guys, back then, they had all the time in the world to sit around memorizing books from beginning to end, and they would test each other and they would recite them backwards and so forth. But, you know, really, they didn't achieve wondrous things from doing this. There weren't that many wondrous things to be achieved back then as there are today, where you could just like use a memory palace or mnemonics to learn just the phrases that will allow you to accomplish particular goals in another language, or just the material that is the most likely to appear on an exam instead of the entire book. Because what a cruel and unusual teacher or professor that would require you to recite verbatim the exact text of this or that thing on an exam. That's not even a field of study that you'd want to be in. You want to be on your toes. You want to be able to make connections. You want to be able to innovate on the information. And you know what? You also want to be able to just access it in bits and pieces so that you can form those connections. And connections aren't made in giant chunks. And you know, if you think about the history of the evolution of book structure, there's a reason why there are footnotes. There are reasons why there are bibliographies. And those are to help books connect with each other. It's ancient or pre-hypertext, hyperlinks. HTML is not new. It was in books for a long time, and you can train your mind to make those kind of connections. Anyway, yeah, memorize entire books. I'd rather just memorize the stuff that matters from the books and really drill that in. Get that to be what you want, what you need, so that you're able to access it, put it out, and just boom, boom, boom. So if your memory palace is a constellation and you have attached to that constellation the information that you need, and you're able to go to that star in the constellation and unpack it, this is far better, far more interesting, and far more useful than trying to get all the deep, dark matter in between the stars in the constellation packed in, because less is more. And by all means, if you're looking for a great memory challenge and a stunt, you will learn a lot by memorizing a book verbatim. People do it. There are apparently places in the world where they memorize certain books that lead to certain bombings. So, you know, there may be books that are memorized verbatim that shouldn't be, quite frankly, at least not by certain people. And it is done, and it is something that you can do, and it's not a challenge that I'm going to take up because I just simply can't see the point or the purpose of it. But I do recognize it as an interesting thing to do, and really all you got to do is learn memory techniques, figure out which memory techniques you're going to use for the purpose, and then sit down and get it done. So if you want to see a really interesting demonstration of it, check out the video with Dr. Yip. I think it's a great video. I like it. I watch it quite often, actually, because it's so astounding and it's so much fun. Watch videos on guys memorizing cards and see how fast and rapidly that can be done. Or, as I'm suggesting, go to the library and just memorize the stuff that you need, and let your mind, trust your mind to fill in the blanks, and enjoy the art of memory and the things that it can do for you. It can take you up higher than you ever thought you would ever be able to travel, but not if you get yourself stuck in the weeds. If you get yourself stuck in the weeds, you're going to wind up doing less, and you want to do more. So less is always more when it comes to memory techniques, and just zero in and your mind will fill in the blanks and you'll have so much fun. So off to the library. Hope you enjoyed this video. Till we have a chance to speak again, keep yourself magnetic.